do the sex.
Today's locker room talk topic is love is blind, but the locker room talk is ruthless. This is our take on the show the whole nation has been watching. If you haven't been watching it, I'm sorry, but I've got opinions. I've been watching it with my bestie, Deanna, aka Ruby. She's got opinions. Everyone's talking about it, so I'm like, oh, we gotta add in on our take on it, right, Deanna?
Yes, absolutely.
If you don't know who Deanna is at this point, you're new, you're going to have to scroll back. She's been on a lot of episodes. She runs getwitchywithit.com, where you make what?
Candles, body mist, custom spell bottles for your home, charm bags. I will be doing room spray, and I do my own poopery called Hex That Shit.
Hex That Shit I just tried. I finally got to try some of her poopery called Hex That Shit, and holy shit, no pun intended, it works. Anyway, let's dive right in. So let's raise our glasses. Let's get ready, Deanna. Let's talk about love is blind, sex, and more. Cheers. We're remote tonight. It's Friday night. We're both actually just hydrating ourselves, believe it or not.
Getting ready. Hard.
That's right. Obsessing about love is blind. I want to dive in, and I want to start with the obvious when it comes to our show, which is all about sex, which is Andrew. I know you guys don't give a shit about this. You want to get into the relationships, but I want to start with the fact, here's what irritates me about these mainstream reality shows. Andrew, okay, whatever. He did the eye drops, okay? But I want to recap his talk on transcendental sex, and everyone just fucking ignored that. Now, I know he's a braggart, but I also know sex. And I was like, fuck, I want to know what he's talking about. I don't think he's bullshitting after all the fucking I've done and the things I've learned about it. So I looked it up. I looked up the sexual kung fu stuff. And like, it's legit. It's not even, I think, based in tantric sex so much, which is what I thought he was talking about at first. It's male edging, basically. So guys, people with cocks who are listening, I don't know how many guys are watching Love is Blind. I don't know. But gals or people with vulvas who are dating people with penises, you might want to check into. I hadn't ever thought of edging as a thing a guy did. Have you? Did you think about that?
I mean, I guess. I think guys do it without realizing they're doing it.
Because they're trying to keep going.
Because I know, it's been common with male partners. They like stop and they take a moment because they know they're about ready to ejaculate. So they kind of stop. So they're at that point and then they reel it back. Right. And then they continue, which is edging, right?
Yeah. Practicing this approach can make men multi-orgasmic. That's the claim, because generally speaking, men aren't considered to be able to be multi-orgasmic like women. Anyways, what bothers me the most is in the finale. Let's talk about the finale. Like, Nick and Vanessa basically just laughed at the concept of whatever sexual kung fu he was talking about. And I thought the reaction to it was, I was instantly like, oh, they're fucking bad in bed. I mean, Nick just looks like he's bad in bed to me. How about you?
Yeah, he just is like a grown-up frat boy.
I think he just pounds away.
Yeah, I do too. Just like mocking it.
Yeah, not even like, and because it came out of Andrew, which though he was a douchebag with the eye drops, but first of all, it is a show. And there's a lot of added drama to it. I felt like they just chose him to expose, and you cannot tell me you couldn't expose lots of the people on there for their fucking fake bullshit. But
Right.
what I also want to talk before we move on to the couples about Andrews, do you remember when he came back for that party in the middle?
Yes.
And do you remember he sat down with Nancy and was talking to Nancy?
Mm-hmm.
No one has talked, I have not seen this anywhere on the internet. And Bartiz comes up to Nancy
Mm-hmm.
and starts doing that weird, like, aggro guy thing. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, it was really, I thought it was scary. I thought it was threatening and not necessarily towards Andrew. And and
No.
and Andrew may have been fake through the first part of the show, but in that moment, guys, you got to go back and watch these clips. The look on Andrew's face was of
Mm-hmm.
honest concern, I
Mm-hmm.
think, for her safety. And he almost looked
Right.
bewildered for a moment, like, is someone going to say anything about what he's doing to her?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that moment?
I do. And Batiste got like, he was like over her, and he's all, do I have, I think, I don't know the exact words, but pretty much it was like, do I have anything to be concerned about?
Right.
And I'm like, number one, if you love this woman, you're walking up on her and she is tearful. Like she has tears in her eyes and she is obviously going through some emotional something, and you're looking threatening and hovering over her, which is not embracing and worrying about her. Like it just was very, very um predatory almost. Yeah. Like she was wounded at that time, obviously. And what you chose to do is be very aggressive and confrontational to her.
Not to mention the fact that just prior to that, he had basically been telling her he wasn't attracted to her, which is a whole thing
Right.
we've got to talk about. But you're not attracted to her, but like you feel you gotta like. I don't know whether he was putting on a show or what, but I was like, then you walk up and you're aggro about her talking to another dude. But
Yeah.
I felt like it was aggressive in a scary way. I felt like the look on Andrew's face was very telling and honest. And he was, I think, in that moment, it looked like he was going, what the fuck am I doing here?
Right. Like this is insane.
So, and then I just thought it was kind of low that they chose to single out somebody who wasn't even there at the end. Like, why even bring him?
Yeah.
Like, maybe they felt like they needed to mention the eye drops, but it was kind of like, I don't know, they needed someone to bully because they seemed sort of, Nick and Vanessa seemed afraid to like actually address the problems that were in the room. And so they
Mm-hmm.
chose someone on the outside of the room or who wasn't in the room to fuck over, which I thought was kind of a dick move on both of their
Yeah.
side. So
And I thought it was weird that because they're like, oh, everyone must be wondering where Andrew is. No, I wasn't wondering because he wasn't one of the couples.
yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying. Like it seemed like again they were really nervous to address the problems in the room, which we need to move on to, and they chose someone who didn't wasn't in the room, like obviously wasn't interested in being there, obviously wasn't interested in being focused on. They're like, oh, let's bully that guy because we can't address all of the there are so many problems in
There
that
was
room.
so much going on.
So let's go ahead and move on to it. Who do you want to start with?
Well, I guess we should just start with um, Cole and Zay
Yeah, let's start with.
because that's where I think a lot of stuff is centered. And for those of you that watch the show, you know that Zay claimed that Cole was very critical of her body and monitored her food and was very disrespectful and all of this stuff. And hearing both sides, And seeing the genuine emotion on Cole's face during that wedding, um, and things just weren't adding up. I really believe Cole, and I know that there's women out there that are gonna be all up on me about that, but I really think Zay is lying, and I really think the moment when he asked her if she was bipolar, it wasn't a dig at her. Like it was serious. So he really was asking her, "Are you bipolar?" Because that's an important thing to know, right? If you're going to be marrying someone, and yes,
So, what you're saying, it sounds like, is that he was actually asking her because honestly, right? If she was
yeah,
bipolar, I felt like in that moment, first of all, there's context that we're not seeing. And he did, if you listen close, you could have caught it in the reunion. It sounds like she
mm-hmm,
had thrown out bipolar before. When he asked her, if you go back again and watch that scene, he asks her and he kind of tries to do it in a lightweight way at first, but you can see
mm-hmm,
that he's like asking her. And
yeah,
then he asks again and it's more serious. Are you?
mm-hmm,
And the ironic thing about that moment for me was that prior to him even asking, I had been watching her from the beginning and I had been confused. Like, obviously, I'm rooting for her at the beginning. I was like,
mm-hmm,
first of all, why would anyone choose him? He's a man baby, if he could even be called a man. Like, I think he is easy to feel lovable towards because he is like a big baby, a big boy.
yeah,
And he
mm-hmm,
is nowhere ready to be a partner to
no,
anybody. He has to grow up. He's still in diapers, and that's clear. He's definitely someone that you can bang and leave and have fun with, go out and party with
mm-hmm,
and bang and go. But he is not someone who even knows himself, much less how
yeah,
to be with a grown ass woman. And that's clear. And any woman could tell that. And I'm sure she picked that up right away. But from the beginning, like from the first episode where they had clearly slept with each other the first night, and then he got up and before she was awake, and he was like, he had gotten up. He didn't want to wake her up. He was going to bring her coffee in bed. Didn't he say that? He was going to bring her
yep,
coffee in bed.
mm-hmm.
She happened to wake up and he wasn't there and instantly went to anger. Instantly went to, she's very clearly very passive
She
aggressive.
said that he was giving her the silent treatment. And I'm like, he's taking a shower. That was the turning point for me with her.
Yeah.
I was very empathetic for her and I was really, wow, I can't believe. And then I was like, what are you talking about, woman? He he got up. He's taking a shower. He's letting you sleep. He's not but she's like, oh, the sex must have been awful or anything because we had sex and now he's giving you silent treatment. He was respecting you. And I'm sure if he would have woken her up, then she would have been pissed about that.
Dude,
Like,
that is a woman
no
you
matter
cannot
what.
make happy. But yeah,
No.
I know it's so funny. The rest of us are like, oh my God, you'd let us sleep in, you'd make us coffee and bring it to, like, fuck yeah.
How
I
dare you?
mean, in fact, I expect to never be woken up by any lover ever in
Mm-hmm.
the morning,
Right.
unless they're bringing me a coffee and it's a reasonable hour. But that was sort of my first moment of like, what the fuck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then she carried it out. And as I was watching the different episodes, I'd see her start to get sweet with him and then get like all of a sudden, there was also after the pool thing had been resolved and she kept saying he never apologized to her. And I hear people saying he never took ownership and
Yes.
apologized to her for that.
But he did.
I am confused because I watched it and I mean I felt like he did. And not only that, he said to her, like, I love you. I want to
Mm-hmm.
marry you. I would like
He even told her, I think you were smoking hot.
all the time. He did. He did.
Yes.
There are many, many times of him talking about how beautiful she is. He said a lot of dumb fucking things. The move with Colleen was dumb, but one thing I want to talk about that too. I don't know if we're just older and we are jaded and just like hello reality, but I was like, I feel like that whole thing is being blown out of proportion. Would I have been
Way
upset?
out.
I would have been upset. I would have been like, that feels weird to me. That feels like you're telling, do you want to be? I may have had that kind of conversation, but it would not have stuck with me. I also would not have asked my partner to rate me with
No.
other women, which she instigated. And instead of everybody focusing on the fact that she instigated that, she asked this person to rate her and other women, which is fucking bullshit.
Right. You're
He's a
setting
dumb
him up.
fuck. Yo, she totally set him up. And he's a dumb fuck. Like, he's a
Right.
man baby. Again, if he were a grown man, he would have been like, you know what?
I'm
not going to
no.
do that. And look, I get it. I know I'm being rough on her, but to be fair, I have definitely asked my partner. I have my own insecurities. I have body insecurities. You and I were talking about that. I have recently. I asked my partner to a question about my physicality, and he literally said to me, "That's an awful question. I'm not going to answer it." And in the moment, I mean, I knew in the moment that I was going into all of my own issues, but he was right. And that is what Cole should have done. But he's a fucking
doesn't have the
infant.
maturity.
He's a goddamn fetus, right?
Yeah.
With big sad eyes. So what I think, I see a lot of trauma in Zay. I saw her doing a lot of sabotaging. A lot of sabotaging with a guy who doesn't know how to watch what he says or say things right, who doesn't know how to process feelings or what's going on. And I think he was utterly fucking confused. I had said prior to him saying, asking her the bipolar question, I had turned, I think I was watching it with my daughter, and I turned to her and I said, I wonder if she has a mood disorder.
It's funny because someone at work also watches it. And before that moment when he asked her, we were discussing Z, and I'm like, I think I wouldn't be surprised if she's bipolar, only because my daughter is bipolar. And so I have been around someone, and she had a lot of the characteristics, this self-sabotage and the setting people like that. Clearly, I was just seeing so many signs that saw on my daughter before she got into therapy. And she has to be medicated, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, asking someone if they're bipolar, the fact that everyone got upset with it kind of pisses me off, because that is why people are ashamed to say, hey, you know what, I'm a manic depressive, or I have bipolar. Like, we claim that we want to normalize mental health, but when you have a show like that that has everybody jumping on top of a person for just honestly asking, which is information to have. If I'm going to marry someone,
And you think they're
that's
hiding
something
that?
you need to know. Yeah, you need to know. You need to know those things, because that's going to really affect your relationship. So there's nothing wrong with asking.
Yeah, and I want to just throw in quickly, we got to move on to the other couples, but I was dating a woman, I think you remember this, almost 2 years ago, who had told me she had a mood disorder, but she acted like she didn't know which one it was. And our relationship, I think maybe I was triggered a little bit. Like things would be great for a half day, and then suddenly she'd be mad, and then they would be, and I actually at one point looked at her and I asked her dead on, I'm like, are you bipolar? What is the name of your mood disorder? Because I started to think I was a bad person. And I felt like I saw some of that going on. Now, no doubt, I think Cole, the story of Cole should be a lesson to all men. I think men are socialized to think they have a right to comment on our eating, comment on our body and size. They make comments all of the time that even if they're doing it in joking or passing, I mean, still to this day, people I date, well, my parenting partner, you know, if we're eating as a family and I go to grab an extra dessert, will say something to me. Like, this is the society we're brought up in. And do I think it's shitty? And do I think it adds to the eating disorders we all have and the body trauma we have? Absolutely. But calling someone abusive is a big fucking accusation. And Cole is being called an abuser. And I just feel like that was a step too far. That's where I stand on it. I think that Zay wasn't being honest. I think and whether it was unintentionally, because I think it was also a good example of two completely different communication styles. I think Cole jokes and is cutesy and says things, and she was taking those things as serious. And she says things, and she's just very serious, and she wants things a certain way. She wants her white wine in a fucking stem glass.
Right. Because it gets warm.
I get it, but
she was very critical.
Someone is making me dinner. You know what I do? I sit down and I shut up. I take the wine in whatever fucking glass it comes in. I take the chicken however they season it. Anyways, do you think, final question on this before we move on, do you think that Cole fucked around with someone that at the bachelor party?
I do not. The only person that really said anything like accusing him was Brennan. And all Brennan's answer was, well, I don't know because I left in a different Uber, so I don't know where you went after. He went back to the apartment like everybody else. And I think she believes the untruths she shares in her mind. And that's another reason why I would not be surprised. Again, I am not a clinician, but going from having a child that's bipolar, one thing about that mood disorder is they have their delusional like reality. And so she may honestly believe that he said stuff and he might not have said that. And that's something that really happens in that dynamic.
God. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that rings true with my experiences. And I think definitely in her reality, she believed some of those things. I think they were experiencing two totally separate realities. So cheers to Zay and Cole hopefully never interacting ever again.
Ever again.
Cheers.
And to Cole maturing.
So let's move on to Alexa and Brennan. I loved they just had a wonderful relationship. They clearly were a good match. They clearly met each other, talking, clicked, and and I do truly think that they were there for the right reasons, that they both weren't invested in the appearance, and they did let themselves fall in love with each other. But really, I'm not going to lie to you. Brennan, I was lukewarm on. I was like, whatever. Like, he's fine because, you know, she can lead him and mold him. And I loved that he was open to embracing her culture, her family's culture. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was really amazing.
And they do seem sort of suited for each other. However, the reunion, he annoyed the fuck out of me. He was the pick-me guy up there. He was the pick-me guy up there with all the comments. Like, again, I felt like he had also watched the last reunion and wanted to be the guy that said the right thing and shut down any other guy that was not as good of a guy as him because he was going to be the good guy.
To be the hero.
Ugh. I was just like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's just annoying.
We don't have much to say about Alexa and Brennan, right? But what kills me is let's talk Bartice and Nancy.
Oh,
And I didn't, nobody ganged up on Bartice. So what I want to know is why no one was ganging up on Bartice. He was far worse a villain than Cole. First of
right.
all, he just, I mean, right off the bat, he was just basically like, I'm not attracted to Nancy.
Yeah. He told Nancy, I have emotionally, I have attraction, but he told her to her face he had no physical attraction.
Can we just talk about why anyone after that? I would have stood up and been like,
I would have
and
laughed.
you know what? This is where it's like you can't diss on Andrew for the fake eye drops because I think the only reason Nancy stuck with that, like, first of all, she's not a dumb woman. She's got bank going on. She has
Yeah.
created an empire for herself. She is
Mm-hmm.
well off and she's done it all for herself. She's not a dummy. My
No.
theory is maybe she knew that was the way it was going to go. I don't know, but the only reason why you would stay with the guy who said that to you is because you want to stay on the fucking show, or
Yeah.
you've got some serious problems. I could not because, and it wasn't even like with so with Cole and Zay. Cole didn't even say to Zay, "I'm not attracted to you." Am I right? Did he ever say, "I'm
No, he
not
didn't.
attracted
No,
to you"?
he never said that. He always reassured her that I think you're hot. You are beautiful. He never once said there was no physical attraction. He said the complete opposite.
I think there was a point where he said that Colleen was more his type. Did he ever say? Well,
Yeah,
he
but
rated her higher
he
when they did the.
and he did say she's the type I would normally go after. And when she said something, his comeback again was, but that doesn't mean I don't think you're beautiful. Like you can have a type, but then still find yourself attracted to someone that normally you wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know how many times I've had those discussions with people I've dated. I definitely have a type, and I definitely date outside that type. And I've had conversations where it's like, "Yeah, you aren't my type, but you're the one I fell in love with, and I think you're fucking
mhm,
hot."
yeah.
Again, but back to Nancy and Bartice, he was like blatant, like blatant about not being attracted to her. And I was
And
like,
he
what are you
did
doing?
give her the silent treatment. He did do that
He
to
did
her.
all of those things and he talked shit about her. He was like, basically, she's annoying. She's so clingy, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you the only reason why he didn't drop it, I think he was kind of like, she does have money. I think her money
Sugar
sparked.
mama.
I saw his eyes when he started to like, that was what I think he was struggling with making a decision about. Am I
And
into her
let's
enough to, stay for the money?
he took her and they did those gold bracelets. Why the hell, if you were unsure, why the hell would you do something like that? The only reason why you did something like that was to make sure because you saw her kind of starting to go away because of how you were being. So you're like, oh, this will be really romantic and it'll show that I'm in it forever.
I'm gonna get you a
Just
little
to,
sheep
and then you
chain.
send her the,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why would you do something like that?
But now let's talk about Nancy. What damn Nancy like turned on her family when they were sticking up for her. Like
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck is the deal with Bartice? Like her family had every right to be like, you've been a fucking dick to our person. And then she's sticking up for him then. And then at the reunion, like he got a little bit of something, but
But
not. Do you not wonder what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? What was
um,
going on?
I thought, I mean, she was like a textbook, a victim of abuse, whether it was mental or she just really, no, protective of him. Why are you protective of him? Let your mom come out and give him her business. If that was me, I would be all, come on, brothers, come on, everybody, you come on out here and you do your business. Because he just ripped my heart out, but she didn't do that. And that reminds me of so many women that are in controlling abusive relationships. That's what they do.
Right, which is it's also ironic that that everyone focused on Cole, and here is a situation, which brings us to another situation, Matt and Colleen. Let's talk abusive and toxic and frightening. Throughout the whole season. I'm watching it as soon as that whole incident happened with Cole and Colleen, and the way he went off, and not just then he got angry again, and the way he would like talk and
His anger, he has some serious.
he is.
He needs to learn to control that.
I think he's got some physical anger issues. I think he is a pro at manipulation, emotional and mental manipulation. And Colleen, my take on her is I think she's very sweet. I think she has great intentions. I think she takes things at at face value. I hope to fucking God that something happens and that falls apart, because oh my God, the reunion, the way he was wrapped around her, I mean, it was bizarre. He was literally wrapped around her as if like restraining her. And she looked so terrified. And I don't know if part of that was like, oh, the situation in the pool is going to come up again. That's going to be a focus. And how is that going to affect me? But yeah, I mean, like, I think he's possessive and I think he's dangerous. And I think she is someone who could easily be abused or in abuse. Everyone across the internet and TikTok, we're all like, what is, blink 3 times if you're okay. Colleen, what the fuck is up? So we both agree that Matt Bartise
definitely has. Bartise is the one that I was pissed off that nobody called him out on anything. Nancy didn't call him out on anything because he had the worst actions out of anybody to me, because his were like almost a daily basis.
Oh yeah. But she let it happen. She let it happen again and again. And after he told her again and again, I'm not attracted to you. I could never, if I had slept with someone and they said that to me afterwards, I would never. I would literally never. I'd be done. I'd be like, all right, bye, motherfucker. So Nancy and Bartise, we summed that up. Matt and Colleen, also Matt, I think toxic, unhealthy. Everybody should keep their eye on Colleen best they can. And that brings us to our last couple,
which really have surprised me, because I will say at the beginning I could not stand Raven and SK. Well, let's be fair. Also, it wasn't brought up at the reunion, her doing jumping jacks. Right. Well, when Bartise was,
before we knew what a cock he was.
Right. And she's exercising. I'm like, how rude. I just could not. I couldn't. I was like, and then even at the beginning after the engagement and stuff, I just was like, oh, she just seems just so rude to SK. But then seeing her interactions with his sister and his mother, and how at first I was like, I didn't think she was really opening up to embracing his culture, but then I did see that. And then
I think with Raven, what you got to see was real honest. Oh, I want to embrace it, and then but it comes with these things that I can't embrace, which were all very valid.
Having stew ready.
And the way that that tug of war was happening inside of
Mm-hmm.
her. I also think, yeah, so I think Raven and I are very different types of people. She is someone who I think can come across as very cold on the outside
Yeah.
and just like, she wants what she wants and she's not, there's no leeway for
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's how it is. And when she says things, it can come out very cold and harsh. Although maybe some people think I'm that way. I think I'm a little bit more playful and
Mm-hmm.
open, and I like to draw people out.
But
And,
she is playful when she kind of lets down her wall.
right.
And she ended up being my favorite person on
Yeah.
this season.
She showed just a lot of integrity all the way through. She was
Mm-hmm.
very careful. She knew she was on TV, first of all. Like these
Mm-hmm.
other motherfuckers. I'm like, you're on TV. Like,
Like
what
they're
do you
gonna
think?
see this.
You are everybody. Everybody, you will get fried for what are you thinking? I also think something that we aren't talking about is that those kids, and they're all young, they're all in their 20s. I think one
Mm-hmm.
or two was in their early 30s. They're pumping alcohol into them, booze into them.
Yeah,
Those
nonstop.
those cups they're drinking and holding all the time, that's booze. And you know, it causes loose lips. And that's where the whole saying about loose lips sink ships comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're pumping them full of booze. And I think she knew this was going to be on TV. She knew the world was going to see. Out of all of them,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't have sex with
Yeah.
supposedly the partner ahead of time. I think, again, she was aware and
Mm-hmm.
aware I have this future. And I think that's something else we need to talk about. These young people were put in a situation where there was an expectation of intimacy, there was an
Yeah.
expectation of sex. And people who may have never met, may have never chosen each other, whether via dating app or at a bar, chose each other, then they were forced to
Mm-hmm.
share a living
A bed.
space and a
Mm-hmm.
bed if they chose, which they always do because it's weird otherwise. They're
Right.
engaged. And sex is kind of an expectation. And think about the pressure. I definitely probably couldn't orgasm in a situation like that. That would be very
Mm-mm.
stressful.
Yeah.
And I've thought a lot about it. We're watching the show for entertainment, but my God, I wonder sometimes. I know everyone's consenting, but that's a lot of pressure. Sex comes into
Mm-hmm.
play. A lot of things come into play. A lot of things can affect your mental health in that situation. There's a lot of alcohol. I mean, but yeah, Raven really managed herself well and
Mm-hmm.
put thought into it. And I have nothing but respect for that. But
And they handled conflict really well. So what really I think about is the conversation they had when he said that, it was concerning to his mother that none of her family was going to be there.
mhm,
And that was a cultural difference. And she stood her ground. And then you could see that they had a conversation. It didn't get heated, even though she stood her ground. It wasn't with any anger. It was with frustration, clearly and understandably. And then what he did is he talked to his brothers and he shared with it, like, the communication is was just amazing with those two.
right.
um Very mature adult and real. Just and I It didn't surprise me, honestly, that they are dating. I knew that would end up happening. I knew she was really hurt. And what really, really tugged at me was, one of the things that hurt the most was she had this relationship with his mom. And that just, but I knew, because I knew his reason wasn't because he didn't want to be with her. It wasn't the right time.
Right.
And they showed that it's okay to say, you know what, this isn't the right time. Don't rush into it.
Yeah, it's marriage.
And the love is blind thing, if you say I don't, that means ever. But I get that I saying, I don't, but let's give this some more time. there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I really respect them for that, not falling into the pressure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that he really was like, this is going to be hard on us to be a married couple and be in the situation we're going to be in. It's not, and he said that at this moment, it's not a good decision.
Right. Right. So, of course, this has gone on longer than we expected, but now you got what we think about it. Let's recap really quickly. Andrew was douchebag, but hey, we want to know about this kung fu sexual shit.
Yeah.
Also, Nick and Vanessa, we aren't very fond of you for so many reasons. Cole and Zay, you guys, two different types of communication styles, lots of trauma. Now, well, both of you now have lots of trauma. Two different perspectives and realities.
Yeah.
Which side we all hear it from depends on our own perspective and reality. But I would say I want to veer away from accusing anyone of being abusive in that relationship. They just need to not be anywhere near each other.
Yes.
Alexa and Brennan, we hope you live happily ever after. Good couple. Little annoying at the end, but good couple. Then Matt and Colleen, run.
Blink 3 times.
Let us know. Then Nancy and Bartice, you're a piece of shit. Nancy, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
What's going on
Nancy,
there?
Yeah.
And that's it. Oh, no. And then, of course,
Oh, no.
Raven and SK.
Yeah.
I think that they make a great couple and wish them the best. That's our hot take. That's our shit talking hot take. Take it or leave it. Maybe you won't like it. Maybe you will. Maybe we'll stand corrected. Are you worked up after listening to our take on Love is Blind? Feel free to message me, Annette, ANNETTE, at sheexploreslife.com. DM me. Got me on social. She Explores Life. And Locker Room Talking Shots on Facebook and Instagram. Head on over to TikTok, where you can find me at Locker Room Talk Podcast, and on YouTube. My handle is at Annette Benedetti, last name Benedetti. Well, anyways, now let's go watch some more shit TV. Okay, Deanna?
Let's
Cheers.
do it. Cheers.
See you guys in the locker room.